Happy Monday, everybody. This is Love and Relo, the voice of the relocation industry. I'm your host, Ben Cross, and I am joined by my good friend and YP40 chair, to whom I serve at the pleasure, Mr. Christopher Ward. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Hey, Ben. Hi, everybody.
Now, Chris, where in the world are you right now?
So I am coming in live from my studio apartment, 500 square feet here in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Lovely. So you're in Cambridge?
Yeah, we're in Cambridge, right over the Charles River, basically in Boston.
So the only difference in Cambridge and Boston is people are smarter in Cambridge. Is that right? True or false?
That more or less, yeah. We got the MIT and the Harvards over here.
The Harvards. You like apples? All right.
Don't get me started, Ben. Don't get me started.
No, get started. Get it popping right now with the Goodwill Hunting quotes. And I think like the Boston accent's having a moment right now. That Super Bowl commercial with John Krasinski in the car. Kapak, yeah. So today we're going to talk to Chris, who, like I said before, is the YP40 chair for ERC this year. He's also relationship manager at AIRINC. We're going to find out what that's all about. We're going to talk about some leadership life lessons and things that we've learned along the way. Chris and I have been friends for several years now and had a lot of good times together and learned a lot and kind of come up together. And so I'm really excited to share that. We're also going to be taking your questions, hearing from you guys out there, and it's going to become like a little dialogue, as it always is. This is really about Chris, and this is about you as the viewers, and it's an open dialogue. So please chime in. If you're watching this on LinkedIn, go ahead and tell me where in the world you are. Give your company a shout out. I want to hear from you, so make sure you check in. It looks like Facebook just launched that, and that's great. If you're on Facebook, please go ahead and hit that like button. Drop a comment. Let me know where in the world you are. Hit that celebration. I love the hand claps as well. Is that proper terminology, Chris? The celebration button or the applause? Or do we have a name for that emoji when you can like things with a applause?
Ovation? The ovation button?
The ovation button.
I'm waiting for the mahalo button.
Yeah. So hit that ovation button. Let me know. I'm going to go ahead and find us here on LinkedIn and make sure we are launched. If you can hear us out there, please let me know. Looks like we got folks checking in here. Jamie, love it. Early. Cheers from sunny Mississippi. Jamie always gives us the weather in Mississippi. Appreciate that. Christy. Hi, Ben and Chris.
Christy, hello.
Awesome. She's one of my favorite people to see at ERC also. I'm kind of going through some like ERC withdrawals right now. This is about the time when I'd be planning, making some calls, setting up some meetings. Kind of a bummer, man. I mean, how are you dealing with some of this kind of social withdrawals from some of the networking stuff? Does that hit you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, my plans for the first, start of the year, our fiscal year started in April. It just completely blew up come March. So, it's been especially hard. I never realized I was such an extrovert. But yeah, I mean, the people that you kind of see out on the circuit this time of year, Christy, being one of them, it's weird kind of being this time of year and not seeing, the people that you see, you count on seeing every quarter or so. So it's been difficult, but, Zoom meetings, lots and lots of ways to keep connected with everybody for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we do. We run into each other like quarterly, or sometimes more often, and these people become like my actual friends, not just like work people, but like my actual friends.
I was sort of concerned, but now like so many people are connected with me on Facebook too now, so it's really kind of crossed over into that personal, life space, which mobility does.
Yeah, worlds are colliding a little bit. All these comments right now are coming in through Facebook. Rachel Fisher-Lyons, who actually is your counterpart at AMSA, the American Moving and Storage Association. So she is the chairwoman of the 40 Below committee, who I also serve at the pleasure of. I guess that's my lot in life, is to serve at the pleasure of others. Rachel is our chairwoman there. She's also in Boston.
No way.
Wow. Actually, I think she's a digital nomad who might be chilling in Florida right now. but she's originally a Bostonian.
Okay.
And speaking of Florida, my wonderful cohort here, Janet Turner. Hello, fine gentlemen from sunny Central Florida. Hey, Janet. All right, and then we got some LinkedIn folks coming in. Hey, if you're watching us on LinkedIn, I see 18 of y'all, but I only see 6 comments, so please drop one. Let us know you're out there. Christian Hufalu, Smart Park, he says. Jose Carlos Espinoza Ortega. Hi, Ben. Great to see you. Jose Espinoza from Mexico City. Good to see you, too, Jose. Mary Piper from Bernstein Realty in Houston. Good to see you. Jack Jampel. Hi, Ben and Chris. Jack is in the house.
Hello.
Watch your mouth. Watch out. He's going to come out and let you know. Pat Jurgens, hello. Dan Bagley. Hi, Ben. Great show. Dan Bagley in the UK for Baggage Hub. Elena Anderson DeLay. Good to see you, Ben and Chris. I have ERC withdrawal too. I'm choking on my emotions right now. Hit those like buttons. Hit those ovation buttons. We're going to get this party started right now. Lindsay Altman's checking in as well. Appreciate you, Lindsay. Yep. Rachel, are you gonna connect with Janet down there and go eat a pizza in her backyard? Let me know when that happens. All right. Anyway, all right. Without further ado, and all shenanigans aside, I want to hop into the content here. Chris, for those of us who don't know you, which is probably like 2 people watching this right now, but for those of us who don't know you, and I actually didn't know this myself, you actually kind of grew up in the mobility industry. Can you tell me about that? Because a lot of us fell into this like kind of unbeknownst, but you actually grew up in this business.
Yeah, I'm one of the oddballs who really my whole professional career has been in mobility. I know we're kind of few and far between, but I got my start in mobility. My mother, believe it or not, was a mobility manager for a Fortune 500 company here in Massachusetts, EMC.
Okay.
So, I had...
Wait, I got time. Is she still there or no?
She's retired. So she's been retired for about 5 years now. Okay. My father and her moved up to Rockport, the North Shore of Massachusetts, about 5 years ago. So they're living the life of Riley now. But, before then, I, grew up with a mom running a, big, large mobility program across 3 different regions. So, I remember those days where, the office room would be closed and there would be no going near it. There would be no yelling. Mom was on, the phone with a manager or whatever it was. So, kind of seeing that, kind of what the real day-to-day, like, mobility manager role is, was interesting to see.
What did you think about that, like, as a kid? I mean, obviously we look at our parents like they're all idiots, right? I mean, there's an age where we look at them like they're idiots, and there's an age where we're like, wow, you actually have your stuff together, and thanks for these Jordans and this roof over my head. And then, like, there's a thing where you start to, like, admire them and be like, wow, I want to be like you when I grew up. So was that, like, did you consciously go through that where you're like, I want to be like you when I grew up? Or did you just, like... how did that happen? Like, honestly, how did that happen?
So yeah, I'm more of an organic mama's boy. It slowly happened. I mean, my house is interesting. I'm exactly like my mother, and then my brother is exactly like my father. They're both high school, teachers, master's degrees and all that. And then, my mother straight out of high school, she went into, the corporate world. So, she kind of had that street smarts, and I kind of really looked up to that. So just in the course of being a summer undergrad needing money and wanting a job, I was able to get a job working through a temp agency, filling in for one of her employees, an immigration specialist there. So that was like my first gig in mobility as an intern that summer, kind of helping to, process all the student visas. So that was kind of where I got my first taste of mobility, and yeah, it's been.
So you got on as an intern. Okay, so you used your mom's connections and networks, and you got on as an intern, which I think is how everybody kind of interns. So that makes sense, right? Yeah. And then what made you decide that, like, okay, I'm not just playing around. Like, I actually want like a real job in this business.
Yeah. So I think going into it, like I said, the motivation was money. I had a really good connection with mom, and she had a need. They couldn't get a head count. They couldn't hire a new immigration person to fill in. So, it was kind of a mutual thing. I helped them. I, got a pretty high paying, summer internship. Um, and so basically I had that experience. I, came back and was involved in, internships at EMC outside of the mobility team. So global HR space. And then I graduated from UMass, and I came back into more of a dedicated internship program with the mobility team.
When you were a dedicated intern there at EMC, was your mom still running the program?
She was the boss.
She was the boss.
Yeah. So I worked with all the people under her, and I was supporting all the day-to-day, activities.
Yeah.
So that was like really kind of where I had my experience built up. It was really the only, corporate professional experience I had as a sociology major. I thought I was going to go, into academia after, college, my undergrad. But basically I decided like my lifestyle, I like to go out, I'm extroverted, music, all these things about me.
Right.
I realized that I needed a job. I needed to be, financially independent to do all these things. So, I kind of made a decision after about 6 months living at home, commuting to work with my mom in her department. I kind of made the decision that I'm going to stay on this track. And I took a job with their mobility vendor, their RMC, after my internship was up.
Okay. I want to know about that, but first I want to go back to how you worked for people that worked for your mom as an intern, junior, low man on the totem pole. I'm sure everybody was like, "Oh, we're getting an intern, great!" And they're like, "Oh, it's so and so's son, Chris." And they're like, "Oh, there goes the coffee runs and all the the things that we want to dump on this kid." I mean, that would have been. Was that a weird dynamic though? Like first working for people like as an intern for your mom, and then like working for your mom for 6 months. Was that? I'm sorry, I'm just going to dwell on the personal for a second. It is Love and Relo. So, what was that like?
Yeah, it was interesting, right? There's obviously a dynamic, right? For sure. I think it really kind of helped me not only just kind of get the role and kind of get into mobility, but it kind of put a chip on my shoulder. I had something to prove. I think, initially I had kind of known her teammates and the people I was filling in for. So, I wasn't too concerned. They were just appreciative of the help. So yeah, I think initially that was a concern, but then when I kind of transitioned from, the corporate side to the RMC space, I was dealing with like cases that I had initiated to the RMC. So it was again the situation of, do I have my job because I'm a good, capable individual, or because, my mom is one of their biggest clients.
Right.
So it kind of lit a fire under me to prove myself.
And honestly, it's a combination, right? Success, success is a preparation meeting opportunity, right? So you're smart, you're wicked smart, and then you also have an in, right? And I think a lot of us take for granted how much our social networks do for us,
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have to understand that too, especially when we look at people who don't come from, who are from disadvantaged backgrounds, right? And we have to also be cognizant of the head start that some of us have in life, too. But hey, I want to before we get into the transition to the RMC world, because I think that's so fascinating how you kind of like have worked for the client side, have worked for the RMC side, and now like you're a supplier. I want to get into that, but I want to first honor the people that have checked in with us and left some comments here. Go ahead, leave comments. Let us know what you're thinking. If you got a question for Chris, I want to hear it. As you guys know, all you longtime viewers, that this is how we roll over here. So Julia O'Connor, hi Ben from DC. Lynn Greenberg, hi from New York. Janet Olkowski, hi Chris, looking forward to seeing you in person soon. Sandra Clary, Alexandria, Virginia, checking in and giggling at your art modification. Yep. So guys, if you're watching this back here, you're like, what's going on back there? So this is a Picasso. I got this when I was in 8th grade. My mom got it for me for Christmas. The Picasso exhibit came to the Museum of Modern Art. Again, talk about fortune, right? I got to go see the Picasso exhibit live, in person, right? Anyway, my wife hates this because there's the female form. even though it's in like a surrealist state, right? And so she's like, no, you got to take that down. So I figure it's better to have a censored Picasso than it is to have some garbage pop art, vase of flowers behind me. So I got creative, and Picasso now is actually sponsored by Love+RELO. So yeah, so that's what that's about.
Ben, are you doing any arts and crafts now? We're talking about folks picking up hobbies. Are you
kidding me right now? Do I need to go? Hold on. Here, I'll tell you a story. Here, I just have this handy, okay? So you want to see? So first of all, I made this, right? This is ceramic, right? It's clay. So my son for Easter woke me up Saturday, not Sunday. Woke me up Saturday morning, right? And it was a late night the night before. He wakes me up Saturday morning. He's like, Dad, I want you to draw me a picture. And I'm like, all right, fine. What do you want? What do you got? And he's like, well, I want you to draw me some bunny slippers. It's Easter. Let's draw a picture. I want to draw some bunny slippers. Yeah. And I want you to have the bunny slippers. And then I want the Easter bunny to come along like, hey, those are my slippers. And then the Easter bunny says to me, let's make a deal. Because my son's a salesperson, right? He's like, let's make a deal. I'll give you this Easter egg for the slippers. And he's like, I want you to draw me that. So this is what I came up with.
Put it up a little more. Let me see the slip. That's pretty good, man. Seeing shading in there. I see some fur. Wow.
That's me. That's me right there. So I was proud of that, So I've been using a lot of children's markers and some crayons and stuff. But yeah, I've been getting down on some arts and crafts lately.
You wearing a T-shirt though? I'm a little suspect of that.
Yeah, that was my jammies. I had my Easter jammies on in that photograph.
You don't have a 3-piece jammy suit?
I have a 2-piece jammy suit, but you know what? With the holidays and the COVID-19 I'm carrying around right now, I can't quite fit into my second piece. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
I've been doing origami.
Oh, is that a crane?
It's a crane. You couldn't tell?
I mean, I did. I nailed it. You got 2 cranes.
It's getting better. I got a whole box, brother.
So you got the paper, and then you got the. Oh wow! Are you doing like all cranes?
I'm kind of doing all cranes, man. It's all I know.
Dude, you gotta send. So I've been mailing things lately.
Yeah. And
so you should mail your clients and friends cranes.
I was thinking about that. It's like this very Zen thing. Like I find myself doing it like before I get my day started, because you can kind of think about other things as you do it.
Is it rote by now? Your hands kind of just move and you just make it like almost like
without even thinking about it.
That's awesome. So you got to send some cranes, man.
I'll get you a crane. Don't worry.
And you got to string them along like on a string and like make them flying through the sky or like a mobile or something for your room.
Exactly. But I'll let you know. I'm interested to see how long I can keep this up and how many I have. I'll have like a freaking closet full of origami cranes.
Dude, Chris'sCovidCranes.com is a thing. I'm telling you. Okay. All right. Let's keep checking in here. If you like cranes, shout out in the. If you want a crane, Chris is giving away free COVID cranes. Send him a Venmo and 50 cents, and he'll send you.
Shipping and handling separate.
Yeah. Let's see here. Drew Phillips. Drew here in sunny Shelter in Place, California. So happy I made it. Drew Phillips loved Chris's humble manner. Not easy to enter as he entered, for sure. Pat Jurgens, interns are great. Brent Bergen, great to see you, Chris. Sandra Clary, Easter Bunny origin story. I don't know. I don't pick up on that. Pat Jurgens says I'm doing sidewalk chalk art. Jennifer Anderson, hi Ben and Chris. Jennifer from Claim Shield checking in from Long Island. Hey Jennifer. Sean Ireland, hey guys, looking good today. Thank you, Sean. You as well. Sean. Oh gosh, man, we got so many comments coming in. We got Tommy Cannoli checking in. Oh, it was awesome. Jason Rollins, hey Ben, Chris. Chris, missing you at the airport, Ben. I like the new addition to the Picasso. Did you and Jason used to run into each other at the airport? Is there a story there?
Yeah, I mean, probably every big conference, I'd run into him. I'd run into a few John Varel, Britt Bemis as well. There's a crew I run into more often than not at Logan.
Yeah, I love that, the airport crew. You get them coming and going too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a special bond.
Yeah.
Gary Connerly, Arts and Crafts on Love and Relo. Love it. Yeah, we might just do a crafting episode, right? Chris
Very
teaches
artsy.
cranes. Chris, are you a big Steelers fan like Christy Saluga?
No, I am not. I am a Patriots fan, if you could believe that, a guy from Boston. And that's all we're going to say about the Patriots right now.
No, it's not. I have one follow-up question. I have Jarrett Stidham in my dynasty. Is he legit or not?
So I go to my brother for all things Patriots related because, again, I'm a basketball player. He thinks he's the real deal.
I do too, out of Auburn.
Bill will put him in a position to succeed.
Agreed. Faye Hawksworth, hey guys, love the arts and crafts, LOL. Yeah, for sure. Chris, do a crane origami, crane live.
How did I know Janet was going to put me on the spot?
Bust a crane out, dude. Bust one out.
Janet is not going to be getting a crane now.
Just bust out a crane for us, and then I'm going to keep asking these great questions, okay?
Okay, go ahead.
You make great cranes. I'll ask great questions.
Okay.
So let's see. All right, so here you're talking to us now. You're heading into the RMC side of the business.
Yeah.
So we're going to be accessing two parts of your brain right now. We're going to be accessing the the cerebrum, and we're going to be accessing the limbic system. This is going to be great. Or something like that. I just made that up.
Something like that.
So, all right. So then you go over to RMC land, and what is that like?
Yeah. So, like I said, I came on as, a former client, right? So there was that interesting dynamic. I think it was also interesting, and we'll touch on it. I relocated. So I moved to Minneapolis for my first job. From
Boston. So Boston to Minnie.
Correct. Yep.
A little bit of a little culture shock there. Little culture change.
It was certainly a culture change for sure. The Minnesota nice. We're a little bit more direct, a little bit more blunt here in Boston. But yeah, going to the Midwest kind of as a new professional, I didn't really know what to expect, but I was just very, very excited to be, getting away, from Boston and Massachusetts and, starting my career, a salaried job.
Yeah. I got to sidetrack. I'm going to sidetrack you though. I'm going to ask you to go back to Minnesota nice.
Yes.
What is that? I have a feeling it's not nice.
Minnesota nice is an expression. I mean, I think it could probably apply to all the whole Midwest, but basically it talks a little bit about how, folks are very, very friendly, on the face there, right? They're going to say, thank you. Hi, ask you how your day was. But it's really more of just like a face level, niceness.
Yeah.
I think
it's polite, but not nice.
Exactly.
It's a politeness, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not indicative of how they may feel. So when I moved to North Carolina, my wife was complaining about this all the time. That's like Homer, bless your heart, right? So down south they say bless your heart, right? Yeah. So Georgia, North Carolina, Alabama, whatever, they can be MFing you and they're saying bless your heart, and that means basically you know what that means. And she really found it disingenuous because she's from New York. And if you don't like me, you got a problem with me, you hang a finger out the window and let me know about it, and we just keep it moving. We don't have to wonder where we stand with one another. And Boston's a lot the same. Boston's similar.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, there was definitely that dynamic. But, in general, I think, right, people are a little more curt, right, in Boston. They'll tell you what they're thinking versus a little more diplomatic in the Midwest. And so, what I found was I, was able to make a lot of friends through work and stuff, but really kind of getting into these inner circles of these, Midwest, these Minneapolis crews wasn't as easy as like an outsider. So yeah, I think that was a big change. But, like I said, I didn't have any expectations. I just knew anything was better than living at home, commuting to work with mom, even Minneapolis in February.
For you, it was about setting out on your own and blazing your own trail. I went through that too when I moved from New York to Dallas. Same. So you get out to Minneapolis. You're working for an RMC. Were you like what was like? What type of role were you in?
So that first role, I was an international relocation counselor.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I would be the person at the RMC who would talk to the individual who was either going on a international assignment or moving across an international border. I would basically counsel them on their benefits and the different policy entitlements that they had. So I did that for about a year. The goal was for me to go to Minneapolis, get trained, and then I was going to go to San Jose and work out of a sort of a silo West Coast office. And as I was in the process to pick up those conversations again, there was an opportunity to open a office overseas for the company. So I ended up instead of moving to San Jose, I ended up going on a 1-year assignment in London.
What an amazing experience that must have been for you.
It was a great experience for sure.
How old were you?
So I was 25.
Yeah, that's tremendous.
I was
so
25.
25 years old, and they're like, hey, you've got some mobility experience, and you've got, I don't know. And you're also probably like the only guy that raised his hand, or probably not. I don't know. It's probably a pretty sweet assignment. And they send you to London, and I mean, what was that like? I've never even been to London, like full disclosure. So what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, so you go to London for sure. So I mean, it was a really awesome situation for me to get myself in. I mean, I think you got to ask, right, or you won't get in the game.
Yeah. So stop you right there, right? Yeah, you got to ask, you got to raise your hand, you got to put your intentions and your goals forward. And this is something that, I mean, I want to talk to people out there that might be shy, that might be introverts. There's studies done about, do women get as many assignment opportunities? And, there's the debates about why that is. But I mean, you have to put yourself forward and let people know. And you got to sometimes be a little annoying about it and be like, I want this opportunity, I want this opportunity, I want this opportunity. But a lot of times the squeaky wheel does get the grease. And how did you position yourself for that opportunity internally leading up to that?
Yeah, so it was it was a confluence of things. I mean, I think a lot of it's being in the right place at the right time. To throw a lot of cliches at you at once. Mm-hmm. Again, like I said, I was an international focused counselor, so that was my subject matter expertise. Obviously, that played into
right.
training resources in this office. So that was really what I did. I was involved mildly with a lot of the setup and the establishment issues there, taxing, immigration stuff, but a lot of what I was doing was training the counselors to take their jobs forward after I left.
So you had done the job you were going to manage. I think that's key too. I mean, it's very important to be able to master something in order to teach it. And you had that diversity of skill sets with tax, immigration, being an international consultant, being on the corporate side. That's another thing when you're a young person, and we're in YP40, we're on the YP40 committee, right? And so we're always talking to younger people that are coming into this industry. And what I'm hearing from you, it's like add these tools to your toolkit, be able to check all these different boxes from a skill set standpoint so that you make a lot of sense. I mean, is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's, and we talk about the different roles that I've had, corporate, vendor, different sales roles, operation roles. There's transferable skills across the board in any role, in mobility, any industry that you can take and leverage to get your next job, to be successful in your next job. It's just about, finding those skills and being able to market yourself to that, position.
So you go to London. You're opening an office, which has got to be like a tremendous amount of experience. I mean, you're 3 years removed from getting your first cable bill, and now you're opening an office, right? And what did you learn through that experience?
It was very surreal. It was just an incredible opportunity. I mean, I'm very grateful, right? I mean, I think I am a squeaky wheel. Anyone who's ever managed me would tell you I'm a squeaky wheel, but yeah, it was just a really good opportunity. Things kind of like fell into place as far as like needing me to get there, but it was just a really good opportunity. I learned a ton, and really, I think the big benefit was having that firsthand experience. Because even before then, I had corporate experience, which is something RMCs are always looking for, people that kind of cross those paths. But it really gave me credibility. I was a white suburban American male, and actually having experience traveling internationally on a visa, dealing with my own expat shipments, things like that, per diems. It just added a lot of credibility to these conversations I was having.
So I feel like you learn a lot through adversity and struggle. Were there any moments when you were over there in London that were like, oh shit moments where you're like, oh my God, like I'm 25, I'm over here, I might feel a little over my head or something goes sideways and you got to make a call or whatever? I mean, were there moments like that where you really struggled?
I mean, I remember the first night I was there. I mean, there was a lot of resources, right? So, it might sound like I was the only one there opening the office. That was not the case. But I think my first night there is when it finally hit me like, oh, wow, this is happening. The first night having issues falling asleep, it became very real. But yeah, I mean, I had a lot of help. I had a lot of resources. It was a little unreal, but what was the question again?
No, like were there like any moments where you're like, oh crap, and those like moments to me, like I remember being I was fortunate enough to be a supervisor and then a manager of people, in my early 20s, and I was so bad at it. Like I was a very good individual contributor, but I was very bad as a supervisor because I lacked empathy and I had problems getting people to follow me, and I thought I was so smart and I thought it was just obvious, and I didn't get buy-in very well. Like all these like things that I just did not know how to do, or maybe I didn't put value in. I was terrible with employees that had families and children and whatever who needed to take time off because their kid's sick and I didn't have any kids, so I just thought they were slackers, and now I got kids and I realized what a jerk I was. Like so then obviously my whole team like didn't I mean I was really good in some areas. Like I came up with great coaching and content, whatever. But because I didn't care about my people in the right way, and I didn't show them the love, and I didn't care, Dale Carnegie said, "People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care." And I skipped that step, and I just started telling them stuff, and nobody cared. And now here I learned from that lesson. Here I am in this part of my career, and I'm leading with empathy, and I'm leading with caring, and I'm leading listening, or I'm trying to listen as much as I can, and so I'm learning from that, and so anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that you made a really good point, right? I was thrown into a managerial people manager role. I went with a colleague. I was there for a year. My colleague, my manager at the time, was there for 6 months. So, that initial 6 months, she was really kind of that, the manager, the highest level, person from the headquarters. And then in that last 6 month period after she left, again, I found myself people weren't reporting to me, but I was kind of that figurehead and that bridge back to HQ. So having that kind of manager experience thrown on you, and then adding a lot of the cultural differences. We had folks from Hungary, Australia, Cameroon, adding all of that. It was just a really, really cool experience. And, the biggest thing that I had to do was like, don't go right to work and start cranking away in your emails because, I was an individual contributor too. That's how I got offered the job, I felt like. But sitting down and talking to them before you did anything, and it would be, grueling for me at times when I know I got a million things I'm trying to do before the US closes, but it was just so critical, right? And again, building relationships.
Yeah, like that was a big aha moment for me too. So I was managing teams of like 20, 25 people, as a supervisor, and I would want to get in and start cranking away on my email, responding to my bosses, managing up, and then looking at the numbers, and then basically scolding people for not hitting performance, or applauding them, but all via email from behind my computer. And it was so disingenuous, and it didn't resonate with people, like good or bad. Like the kudos weren't as good because they weren't face to face, and the negative stuff was like, well, screw you, And it wasn't until like I like got my cup of coffee and like kind of did the old like, hey, how's it going? Like the old Bill Lumbergh from Office Space, right? Like, it's like until you start pulling out the Bill Lumbergh, like, hey, so how's it going? And like, how was your weekend and stuff? And it's so funny because I used to, back in the day, when I didn't have a family, I didn't care how people's weekend was because I felt like it was a Pandora's box of a reason they were about to ask for time off. So I'm like, I don't really want to go into. I use the personal life at home. I'll keep my personal life at home, and work is work, and we just stay in this neat little clean box, right?
Yeah.
And but now I go by and I give everybody, hey, how was your weekend? And how the kids and blah blah. And of course now I have kids, I care, right? I care more about that. It makes sense to me now,
Yeah.
Oh, you got a 4-year-old? I got a 4-year-old. Look at mine. Oh, let me see yours,
Yeah.
But before, I just didn't have that empathy layer. I didn't care, And so now not only do I care, but I actually realize the importance of it actually is just giving benefits. So I don't mean to sound so callous, but I mean, this was just an aha moment that came with maturity for me, And I just love talking to like people who have had leadership opportunities as a young person like you have, and like say, what are these leadership learnings, that were aha moments for you?
Yeah. I mean, when I look back on, the leadership opportunities I've had growing up, a lot of sports growing up. So I had that traditional, leadership, doing soccer, doing, high school basketball, baseball. My dad was a coach, so I was around teams growing up. So was always very, interested in leadership, from like that sports perspective. And then, kind of I played basketball in college, and really was not much of a leader on that team, more of a bench person. And then after I transferred from that school, my basketball career was closed. I kind of started, staying with that leadership sort of focus or interest, and I started to get more involved in the major. So I was involved in the sociology department at UMass Amherst, creating undergraduate studies groups, being the undergraduate representative for the professors to basically figure out what the curriculum is going to be moving forward. So basically that was kind of like my first foray into like a leadership role before I really felt like I was ready. Couple years later, right, I'm in a corporate role managing mobility day-to-day, immigration at Seagate Technologies. ERC asked me to be their chair on their global advisory council. So again, that was a couple of years after my London experience. So again, this is pre-30 me, not really comfortable in a room full of people who I know are just, they've forgotten more mobility than I know at that point.
Right.
So I think it's, what I learned there in those leadership opportunities is just take it, figure it out, be uncomfortable, be yourself. Only good things are going to come out of, situations.
You know what? And like, so you talk about, and we got some questions coming up here, and I want to get to them. Actually, I'm gonna ask the questions first and shout out the comments here. But I want to get back to how do you move in a room like that? And you're 30 years old, and you're in a room full of people who have forgotten more about Relo than you've learned or whatever. And I want to talk about how you move in a room like that, because I think it's good advice for young people. But I want to also go to these questions here. Mary Piper says, with all our previous conversations, I never knew Chris lived in London. I didn't either.
I have the feeling it's come up. Any and all opportunity I have a chance to talk about my international experience, I bring it up. Come on, Mary.
Well, I think going back to those rooms that we're in, I might be forgetting more about those rooms than But Jamie says, I agree, Chris. Handling international housing for so long, it took quite a while to realize the cultural differences to be fully effective. We've had some great intercultural experts on as well who talked about how to understand those cultural differences and translate ideas across cultures. Shout out to some of the ones, Nicole Barilli, Christian Hufelu. We got one coming up as well. Robert Maisel as well coming up for you. So let's see here. Pat Jurgens talks about Prairie Home Companion. Stephen Meyer, ARPN driver. Shout out to the drivers out in Roanoke, Virginia. Appreciate you, Stephen. Catherine Riley, great to hear from you today. Go Boston. You might hear my kid also in the background. Just woke up from a nap. Michael Cadden, nice to see you, Chris. And then John Zilka weighing in, another YP40 friend. So the original Jay-Z weighing in here has an actual real life question for us. So let's be serious for a moment. John says, your thoughts on Relo volume second half of 2020.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit before we started the broadcast. I think right now, right, we see the short-term impact of COVID is sort of the halt. Let's, see what happens, right? Authorizations, are obviously going to be going down without getting into the seasonal aspects of it, because things should be going up right now, right? So I think, right, there's going to be this little delay that we have now. Moves are going to, happen as soon as cities start opening up across the state. So I think, right, there's going to be a big influx of moves that are, the bottleneck now. So right, I think things are going to kind of be proceeding towards the end of this year as they've normally done. I'm interested to see the longer term impacts, right? Now that we've had, companies do this virtual relocation trial run these last couple of months. The big concern, that I see for vendors and folks who are really concerned about authorizations, maintaining a certain volume. I think that's going to be a bigger issue, and is probably more concerning, is what's going to happen down the road if companies start to be more okay, or less pushback with folks who want to do a job completely remote.
Yeah, I was talking to my wife about this. I've gone from not liking working from home I've gone from thinking I want to work from home to working from home, having my kids be very difficult, got young ones, also having, just issues with boundaries and like, dad's at work now. I know you can see me through the glass, but I'm at work, to kind of thriving in it and figuring out, getting in the niche, right, of it, or in the pocket. And then now being like, gosh, I don't want to go back to work. I'm digging this, to then being like, well, but I do want to have some, I do want to be able to kind of drop by the cubicle with my cup of coffee and be like, hey, so how was your weekend, Yeah. But I mean, is that 2 days a week and not 5? I don't know. Yeah. And so this is, to your point, there's definitely going to be a percentage of people that go home and stay home.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a general haircut across the board. So talk about when do we get back to normal? It's like, okay, it's going to go down now. It might be a V, it might be a U, right? But then the up, A, you're going to have a haircut culturally of people that are going to be working from home. B, to me, it's not going to go back up to what it was, because what it was an all-time high of economic activity that it was unprecedented in our country's history. So therefore, is it going to ever bounce? The ball never bounces quite back as high as it was when you dropped it, right? So it's like, so I don't see that happen. So I think there's going to be kind of a duality there. But you're also going to have you're going to have some pent up demand. You're going to have the pent up demand from March, definitely from April. A lot of RMCs that I'm talking to are probably down like 90% right now for initiations.
When they're usually up 90%, right? This time of year.
Yeah, I'm talking about just like year over year, like April to April, right? April 19 over April 20. So that's significant. A lot of that's going to find its way into the June, July, August peak season that normally. So we look at peak. Movers look at peak. Movers have looked at peak traditionally based on the government's guidelines for peak season, because they are the largest customer of moving, from May 15 to September 15 has been the official peak season. But then we look at it more probably like Memorial Day to Labor Day.
Yeah.
But in the last 5 years, it's been cutting off early to mid-August. And so the question becomes, do we see it extend past to Labor Day and beyond? Because it's gotten so compressed in the beginning, does it like kind of trail off? Like if activity, like say home purchasing is a 2-month activity, let's say, right? Well, if that doesn't start until June 1, June 15, June 30, and doesn't start until June 30, then I got July, I got August, I'm all the way to September 1 now. I mean, how does it push out further? And that hard stop that used to be Labor Day because school started in the Northeast, or it used to be the end of August because school started in the South, do people even care? Because does school even start back in person, or is it still remote? And because there was so much tumult in the springtime, do people even care as much if Susie doesn't start back day 1 of the new school year? Or is it kind of like, hey, everything's fluid right now?
Yeah.
So these are all the thoughts I have.
We will see. I mean, what I think is interesting, right? And the hour's flown by. I wanted to talk about YP and some of the things we were doing, but
we'll talk about it. Yeah.
I think, right, the big thing, right, is looking at this, and it sounds a little corny, not a problem, but an opportunity, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, there's pent up, folks are going to still need to move. Obviously, right, I'm probably oversimplifying a lot of the complexities around like vendor consolidation and things that are probably going to happen because of this. But what I think I am really interested in, and what I kind of want us to kind of stay on top of, is mobility is going to be changing, right? This COVID situation has really kind of helped to speed that up. I feel like, whether it's, technology being used, right? And just in general, the commoditization of services.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's riff on that a little bit, right? So like looking towards the future, and let's spend like 3 minutes on that, right? What do you see some of the trends going forward looking like?
So
specifically,
what I think, folks really need to be focused on now is the fact that mobility for our corporate people, whether you're a corporate mobility person or you're a vendor, their role is changing, right? And it's being exacerbated by all the COVID-19 situation there. But the role is changing. I think we got to get ahead of how do we support our corporate clients? How do we support our business leaders if we're a corporate mobility manager, right, in this different world? And so with services being a commodity, technology being used to streamline, digitize things, I think we're really going to see a shift in like the function and the value that you need to bring. And so I think it goes from being, just a partner who's going to, make sure your shipments get from point A to point B, to really kind of being more of a trusted advisor.
More
right?
Strategic than tactical.
More strategic, yeah. And being able to really kind of help them think through those bigger, how do we fit in to our organization?
So help us. So there's a lot of service providers that are watching right now, and I'm one of them that's been saying, hey, use me as a strategic partner. I'm wicked smart. I got ideas. Yeah. Give me a seat at the table, right? And you're talking about moving from tactical to strategic. I've been wanting to do that for years. As a service provider, how do we get there?
Yeah. One of my all-time favorite quotes, and it was from one of my bosses, and it's not really a good quote even, but basically he would always say, this person gets it. I think very simple. You just want to show that you get it, right? And I think where a lot of service providers fail in their cold outreach to do that and sort of show them that they get it is they're really maybe focusing more on their one small avenue in mobility, their one benefit. Whereas the one thing I've learned in the corporate space, they have so many other stakeholders and pressures besides one specific a shipment benefit or a cultural training benefit. So I think to really understand the different stakeholders and their experience operating within their organization, understanding that and being able to help them, make them look good, and help them advocate on their own behalf is going to be huge moving forward.
Yeah, and what you said is so sharp there and so on point, because I know as a mover, right? As a mover, we are so guilty of this, right? We just come in and we're just like, give me your moves, give me your moves. I want to move you, and mobility people are like, moving is like the last thing I'm worried about. We're like, what are you talking about? We're like a core benefit. Like, what's the? They're like, yeah, but I got this immigration problem. I can't get people into China. And I've got this RFP for new RMC, and I got tax issues, and I'm trying to tackle this crazy business traveler tax problem, and the mover's like, yeah, but don't you understand? We got the bluest trucks on the block, and they're like, go away. And so you're 100% correct. You can't have a myopic view of your service vertical. You have to understand how it all comes together and be able to advise them and help them in other areas. I might want to help a client. The way I add value is by recommending a tax partner. It may not even be by giving them the bluest truck on the block. So I want to get to Jack, because this is a great segue into the YP40 and what the value of being a part of YP40 and understanding the global perspective here. Jack Jampel does weigh in and says, from the Corp Relo perspective, it will be a slow start with the exception of certain companies that have done well during this time. Jack Jampel goes on to say, and talking about what we were just talking about, strategic partnership is ensuring excellent service. So Jack's basically saying, I don't need your ideas on tax, Ben. Just don't break my stuff. Okay, fair enough, Jack.
Jack is well known for, setting expectations with his vendors, and he has a really, really strong partnership. I think that's a good example of kind of the types of partnerships we're all trying to kind of put in place with our prospects. So I think just adding value, I think simply put, Ben, when you reach out, really try to take a step back from, your own self-interest and just demonstrate value, whether it's, referring them to a tax provider who will do it cheaper, better, whatever it is. That's what I've been really trying to focus on these last couple of months with all the COVID craziness going on. So
let's talk about YP40, right? So we're both on the committee. You're the chair, right? And so, I know for me, YP40 was my entree into Worldwide ERC. Worldwide ERC has been extremely wonderful for my career right now. I think my son's dying literally in the other room.
That wasn't me.
That wasn't the streets of Boston over there. Huh? And so, no, but anyway, point is, my son's not dying. I promise. There's people over there. People get mad. They're like, go help them. I'm like, no, there's people. Trust me.
I got a crane coming his way, brother.
Yes. Is that a freshie? Is that right off the line?
Fresh off the line.
Oh my gosh, Janet's gonna be so happy. Oh, that's great. Look at that, checking all the boxes here, people. So I'm the Bob Ross of relocation. All right, so but no, anyway, so YP40, it's a great opportunity to get involved and kind of learn about the industry as a whole. Chris, tell us about some of the initiatives and things that we're working on and some of your vision, and let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the YP40 group is in its 10th anniversary this year. So I was lucky enough to be in the group the last 2 years, and then this year I'm going to be chairing the group. So we got 12 young mobility professionals, again, who kind of run the gamut from being fresh and very new to folks like Ben or myself who've still in that young P demographic, but have been involved in the industry, have experiences, and are wanting to kind of continue to pursue leadership roles in the industry. So this year, the group is focused on the traditional things that we've done, providing a reception at the GWS event, a session as well. So again, pushing YP thought leadership and providing a session for the conference that really kind of speaks to the young professional perspective. And then I think also with all the COVID-19 things going virtual, a big emphasis on engagement. So keeping people connected and providing, venues and platforms to engage community members, whether it's, the virtual roundtable or the virtual happy hour we're doing.
Yeah, let's talk about that one. Let's tell people about that. Like, so there's a few events coming up, right? So let's tell people how they can get kind of involved.
Yeah, so the Road to Recovery event that's happening this spring, in May, it is this spring. We are going to be hosting on the 13th of May a virtual happy hour. I believe we got about 65 or so people signed up for that right now. But basically, that's going to be an opportunity for each of the YP committee members to to engage the different the larger community, and again, see what's going on. Ask folks kind of what they're seeing in their space, and again, just kind of create a platform to create these conversations. Again,
that should be really cool. That's gonna be that's gonna be like a massive 100-person happy hour. That's gonna
there's
awesome.
going to be some tech nuances we're going to need to figure out, but good problems to have, right? We're getting a lot of engagement, so we'll take it.
Yeah, the Road to Recovery sounds like an AA meeting, and then we're gonna pop bottles. But hey, that's cool. That's fine. That's fine. I'm just
Popping bottles, man. Oh, bro.
I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get so much trouble. Don't cancel me. No, that's gonna be awesome. So that's happening in May. Okay, and then can we talk a little bit about what the fall's gonna hold for us?
Let's do it.
We're gonna hop in. Okay. So
there's a lot of TBD, right?
Well, let's share. We can share our vision. We can give people like a sneak peek, right? We can peel back the curtain a little bit. We can go semi-open kimono. We don't have to go all the way. Right?
So I think we can give them a glimpse. Why don't you tell them a little bit about, because you have been working, with the session group, so kind of coming up with content around, the event we would be hosting in October in person. Tell us a little bit without giving away.
Right. I'm going to leave something to the imagination. I'm a gentleman. So I think so. I mean, the idea that we tried some different formats over the years. Right, I've been a party to most of the YP stuff. Probably came in about 8 years ago, and this is our 10-year anniversary. And we always have a session at every conference, and we tried some different stuff, and we've laughed and we've cried, and it's been a really cool session. This year, our focus is on lifting up the YP thought leadership that's out there. As we hit 10 years old as a YP organization, and we look around at the movers and the shakers and some of the smartest people, in the room, right? And we're like, wow, we've actually got some pretty accomplished YPs. So in the past, where we've put a lot of mentors out there, right? And we said, hey, teach us, and learned at the knee of these mentors, we're saying, well, hey, what about these YPs that have these amazing ideas, right? So now what we're trying to do, and again, it's still kind of TBD, and there's things that are kind of nebulous here, but what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the best and brightest people to ideate about the future of mobility, about the trends that are happening now, and kind of help give us that insight from young professional business leaders. We have founders, we have presidents, we have some real thought leaders out there that are in the YP subset, and so we're excited about that, and we're going to put that out there, and then we're actually we're looking at a scheduling to make sure that we can fit it in so that it does not conflict with corporate roundtables, that it does not conflict with first-time attendees, so that everybody can make sure they're there. And we're going to have a little bit of a cocktail element too, perhaps, and a little bit of a networking, and so we're going to have some networking, we're going to have thought leadership, we're going to have some cool thematic elements. So, and then, who knows, maybe working on some interactive aspects and things like that. So, and actually what we're going to do is within the Road to Recovery Happy Hour, if you have ideas that you'd like to see incorporated within the session. Let's see here. I'm having issues here on LinkedIn. It just told me we're actually too amazing for LinkedIn for just at the moment. So we're working on that.
I was trying to hold back. Oh.
Yeah, I know. You actually over amazed it just now. We actually hit our amazing quota. Hold on, let's see here. Remove. Oh, let's see here. Remove, and then I'm going to add it back. This is live. This is how TV is done now. All right, so we're coming back onto LinkedIn, so hopefully that'll jog it a little bit. But the Road to Recovery Happy Hour, actually, one of the questions that we're going to be asking in that is like, what are some of the topics and some of the thought leadership you'd like to see? So we're crowdsourcing it because I think it's really important. Instead of us just a dozen of us coming up in a room together and figuring out what we think you want to hear, we want to ask you, what do you really want to hear? And we kind of want to bring that back and say, how do we serve the people and how do we serve the membership and our constituents? So that's why it's super important to be a part of the Road to Recovery Happy Hour in May. So please sign up now. There's about 35 spots maybe still available. So please do that now. Make sure that you are engaged and active. Also get on Worldwide ERC's The Community, which is the online platform that you can hit. So that, to me, I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, right? He talks about underpriced attention. If you are not on the community and posting there on a weekly basis, you are missing such a huge opportunity because there's so many members there that don't get on LinkedIn, or you're not connected. You're never going to find them on Facebook. And there are people there that you can reach with ideas and polls and all sorts of stuff that you just can't reach on LinkedIn. So if you're not on the community and being super active, you need to go on there right now. Drop a post, drop a poll. It's a great time to drop a poll. John Zilko was asking us, what does Q3, Q4 look like? Go in the community and drop a poll right now and ask everybody what it looks like, So that's my plug for that. Shout out to Heidi Hume at ERC, who's always, holding us down and making us look good out here and giving us opportunities. We appreciate you so much, Heidi. Heidi's been so amazing for my career, so I got to give Heidi a huge shout out. We love you, Heidi. So,
thank you, Heidi.
Yeah. For real. So YP40 is awesome. This is 10 years. And do you want to just maybe kind of we're kind of running out of time a little bit here, but do you want to just share kind of like your YP40 story and like what it's done for you and just kind of like a testimonial on it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we're really trying to do is really kind of define what the value proposition is for people who join the YP40 committee. And I think you get what you put into it. I've been involved in the committee. Again, this is my first year as the chair, but I've been involved in the committee in the past. And, there's more enthusiastic groups. And this year we absolutely have one of the best. I mean, there's so many great ideas, so many really, really strong, people, Christina, you, Ben, Thomas, all these different people that we're working with. So I think kind of blanking on where I was going with that, but
as far as getting involved with the YP40 and you get out what you put in, and like this group actually is extremely vibrant. I mean, Thomas Bailey, Christina Blondheim, a lot of folks I don't know that well also, which it's a nice group. I mean,
yeah. And really thank you for finishing my thought there.
It's my job. I serve at your pleasure, Mr. Chair, Mr. Chairman.
Right. And I mean, I think, right, this year's group is folks are super, super motivated. We got some free time on our hands with some of the volume slow down. So it's going to be a really awesome year for folks. And, I think it's going to elevate the group to, a little higher position, some more visibility, which, again, is only going to help folks as they get more involved and get their names out there. To be a larger part of the industry. I
look back at I found a YP40 group photo from 5 years ago when I got my CRP. It was in Vegas at Caesar's Palace, I want to say. And I found a group photo. I think you were in it. I know John Zilka was in the back. I know Ryan Watroba, who I think was the president at the time, was up front. This is back when I was like rocking the selfie stick, and everybody thought I was like brought a selfie stick, which would have been lame, but no, it was actually ERC's, and I was just taking pictures. But anyway, but there were so many people. Like there's people that aren't with us anymore, but there were so many people who I've watched like ascend and like come up to these levels. I mean, John Zilka, I was just laughing with him about it. He's like, yeah, I was a nobody in my company, and then look, now he's the president in RI Relocation. Yeah, and it's so cool to see people like in their careers and just grow.
And yeah, and I would say, right, that session that you guys ran, you know, Ben, you did it, John was on it, the last chair, Michelle was on it. And, you know, I had known you guys, I had seen you, we probably had a drink or two, you know, out and about, but that was when you guys really kind of came on the map for me as, you know, being the smart, intelligent, you know, folks that.
Is that the one that Susan Schneider moderated?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was some raw stuff. That was great.
Yeah,
that was
awesome.
awesome.
I think folks cried, right?
Yeah, there was some tears. There were some tears. Jamie says, do you offer mentoring to the newer YP40 members? Us OP50s and 60s are kind of out of the loop. What do you say to that? Because I mean, every time you talk about YP, there's people that say, well, what about us?
Yeah. Well, we always have the conversation. Do we just refer to it as a YP group? I know, you know, BAM, the West Coast regional groups kind of have that YP more generic. We don't ID. I'll just say that, right?
We don't ID. YP40. We don't ID.
I mean, we had folks, you know, across all sorts of demographics. So, I mean, I think it's an interesting kind of reverse mentorship thing Jamie brings up. That's what I'd say. What do you think, Ben?
I think reverse mentorship's a big deal. And I think, and Janet went ahead and commented, Jamie, Ben is one of my YP40 mentors. Grab yourself a YP40 mentor. I joke about starting an OP60, but not really a joke. You know, I think what's really cool out there is there's reverse mentoring opportunities, and some of like my best. I mean, me and Janet, like Janet helps me with the show, but she also helps me personally, and she also helps me with amazing eggplant recipes. My point is, like, there's such a two-way street that can happen with a mentor. It's not always, you know, the older, more senior person kind of like gives all this wisdom down. It goes both ways, you know, and there's a lot of situational and experiential wisdom that can be passed down, but there's a lot of, like, say, digital marketing, like, expertise, and I don't know what to say to that. I don't know.
And on that note,
what goes on? But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of older professionals should really be open to the idea of finding a young mentor. I mean, it probably takes a lot of humility, maybe, to kind of go there with somebody. But if there's somebody you admire out there that's doing big things, I mean, you don't even got to call it a mentor, but just, you know, just kind of broach, like, hey, could you teach me something? You know, I think it could be really cool. Victoria McCullough, hi Renee, Janet, elder intern here. Yeah, I was joking. I texted Gary V. I was like, I got a 60-year-old intern, Gary. You're gonna love it. Put me on your show.
Well, you look at companies looking to, you know, incorporate diversity and inclusion. Older generations of workforce, right? People who are coming back into the workforce, right? I mean, these are very, you know, real discussions that we're kind of talking about, and corporate mobility managers and talent management people are talking about too.
Super real discussions, and some of the most underpriced, underappreciated talent in the workforce right now is of the older generation, is of the boomer generation. There is so much experience. Let me put this in perspective for you, Chris. Right, you were in an HR organization, right? When you came up in your organization, people who have been in the workforce 10 years or less have probably never had to lay people off until right now, because 08 happened and it hit the fan. Mm-hmm. But since 08, we've pretty steadily had an increase. Now, I know people are going to at me and be like, well, we just got done with layoffs 2 years ago.
Industry specific, and
fair enough. My point is, we've not seen a widespread financial or, you know, economic crisis like this in 12 years. So there's people right now that have not been punched in the mouth before, that have not been said, hey, we're going to do a RIF right now. We need to lay off 10%, 20%, whatever. But you know who has? The boomers. I had a and I don't know, Lena Rekdal, she owns a Immersion, a Swedish relocation company, immigration company, right? And I don't know what generation she is or exactly how old she is. But when she was on here, she was like, I started my company in 95. There was an enormous economic crisis in Sweden. that had to do with the housing. In 2002, we had a huge, large scale economic crisis again. And in '08, we had a crisis. And she taught me what she learned in each crisis, you know? And so when you look at older workers, they've been through all these crises and they understand that this is just what markets do, you know? So while some of us might feel like our world is ending because we've never seen anything like it's catastrophic, other people have been through the valleys and have seen the mountain again. And I think that that's such a great skill set to have on the team when stuff hits the fan. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. A little perspective can go a long way, especially in like when we start the conversation about like seeing my mom in mobility. There was good months, there was bad months, right? It was just a manic industry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you, man.
So Chris, I know we're over time here, and I don't really care because I don't, you know, it's my show. But I got a question for you. I see AIRINC all over the place. This is who you work for.
Yeah.
What is AIRINC? What the hell is AIRINC?
What do I do?
Yeah.
So
what the hell do you do here?
So I'll tell you right off the bat, we're not an RMC.
Okay.
I think folks tend to, you know, think we're in that kind of supply chain space, but AIRINC, you know, traditionally we're an expat compensation firm. Okay. So our services fall kind of under three broad umbrellas. The data services, so that is, you know, the cost of living allowances, the hardship housing allowances. We have teams of surveyors who travel the country collecting cost of, you know, living information that we turn into allowances. That's sort of our bread and butter. We've been doing that for 65 years, and in the process of collecting all that data, you know, quarterly in a lot of cases, we've created tools that leverage the data. So whether it's a, you know, a net to net comparison of your salary versus your salary there, whether it's a full-on cost estimate with global, you know, tax estimations involved, we have products that, you know, or solutions that leverage our data to sort of spit out a, you know, a report or a, you know, an estimate. And then the third bucket is that advisory services. So it's the benchmarking work that we do. It's a lot of the thought leadership, white papers that we do as well. So yeah, they all kind of play into each other, but you know, in a sense, they are very distinct sort of service offerings, all loosely tied around that expat comp COLA piece.
Nice. Now I know what hashtags to use. Right. Yeah, no, I got it now. I just needed to know what hashtags to use. No, that's perfect. Yeah. That's perfect. No, compensation, expat, you know, immigration, gold mobility.
What to pay them? What you pay someone when they go overseas?
If I send somebody to China, what do I pay them?
We'll tell you.
Put that on a T-shirt. Yeah, we'll tell you. There you go. I love it. I love it. Chris, you know, we're running short on time here, but if you want to leave people with anything, I always like to kind of just open it up and say, you know, if you want to leave people with anything, what would it be?
I mean, I felt like we talked a lot. We covered a lot. I mean, I like the points we made about, you know, don't be afraid to ask for things, right? You don't get what you don't ask for. I think, you know, be comfortable being uncomfortable. It's the best thing you can do.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great way to end it. Hey, everybody, this is Love and Relo. We got a phenomenal lineup this week. We've got Becky Woods from ADP on tomorrow. We've got some fantastic Jane Woolston from Sabre Corporation. We got my dad on Friday. You know, we've got Jill Parteka and Brittany Harrington from V Suites on. I mean, we got a killer lineup, and then I'll be on with Jana Masick on Saturday, also talking about abundance mindset. So we got a killer lineup for you. Please, everybody, go ahead and register for that Road to Recovery Happy Hour with ERC. Also, make sure that you are registering for the fall conference because it is a go, and it's going to be off the hook. DC, right?
DC.
Election year, so you know it's in DC. And hey, everybody, be kind to one another, love one another, and I appreciate y'all so much.